In today's wood story, I'm going to show you how to turn walnut and maple into these brick pattern end grain cutting boards. It's a step-by-step process that's a lot simpler than it looks. So if you're ready to up your skills, then go grab your tools and let's start this wood story. For this project, I will be working with walnut and hard maple, but you can make different combinations depending on what is in your shop. I would, however, recommend only using closed grain woods, so try to avoid open grain woods such as red oak or ash. I'm also taking a lot of time to ensure my boards are flat on all four sides. This is referred to as S4S. If you don't have the machines to do this, you can buy the wood already processed to this level. Just look for the word S4S, and you may want to visit a specialty wood store in your area unless you want to pay an arm and a leg at the big box stores. The very first step in this process for making this brick end grain cutting board is to actually make what we call a face grain cutting board. And we're gonna do that by making up some different pieces. So essentially what I've done is I've gone over and I've cut 4 exact size pieces right here. And then I've taken one piece, a fifth one, that's only half of this size. Mine ended up being 6.5 centimeters in width, which means this is half of that right here. In addition to that, I have cut 4 strips of maple, and these strips are all exactly 4.5 millimeters wide. You can choose a different measurement. I would recommend keeping it about this size, but if you end up having it 5.5, that's okay too. Just make sure that they're all consistent, because this we're gonna need again later on, so it is also important to know what you ended up with. And then lastly, I have prepared 2 pieces of maple right here, and these ones are only straight on the inside right now. And what I'm gonna do with these is I'm actually going to glue them up just like this. This is gonna be our first cutting board. We're actually making 2, and then we're combining it. You'll see what it looks like afterwards. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pieces and we're gonna alternate them like this, and then these little maple strips go in between. And as you can see, it's already looking like a cutting board. And this would very much be a very quick and easy to make cutting board. And this would be considered a face grain cutting board. That means we're taking the faces of the wood and we're combining it. This is also what we would usually consider the least expensive if we had to resell it, because it takes the least amount of work. But it's also what's considered the worst for knives. Now, I'm not gonna get into the whole controversy of what knives are better for what boards, but there is some research that suggests that it is better to have either an edge grain or an end grain for your knives, which is why people are willing to pay top dollars for those end grain boards. But this would be considered a face grain. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna glue this up. We're gonna make it nice and straight. And I have decided to do 4 pieces. And right now my board is measuring just over a foot, just about, I would say just 12.5 inches, which would be 32 centimeters. I am not going to go over 13, and here's why. I am going to run this through my planer after I have glued this up, and my planer only takes 13 inches. So this is my limitation. This is going to end up being my width of my cutting board. But if you want to make it wider, you absolutely can. You just have to cut a few more of these strips. So this would be the time to do it now. But for me, I have cut 4 and 1 of the halves for this. Then the second cutting board, which is the maple, we are also gluing together. And what's important here is that this corresponds to at least the same width as this. So if you end up making this wider, you need to make this part wider as well. And the reason for that is because later on, once this has been all glued together, we're actually gonna cut strips and then we're gonna flip them upside down in order to expose the end grain, because this is going to be an end grain cutting board, and we need to make sure that the pieces that we combine together are all the same. You do not want to mix end grain, edge grain, or even face grain. That's gonna warp the wood eventually, and you don't want to do that. So that is why we're taking this extra time to do this right now. So let's get this glued up, let's get this glued up, and then we will proceed to the next step once that is dry. I'm gluing the boards with Titebond 3 as it is a waterproof and safe for cutting boards glue. I am alternating the walnut boards with the maple strips, and I'm ensuring that I place the half-sized walnut piece at the very end. I also recommend removing as much of the glue squeeze out as possible, as you want to make sure that you have one flat side on the cutting board at all times, because this is really going to help you when you run it through the planer next, when the glue is fully cured. This is usually about 24 hours later. So yesterday we did the glue up, and then afterwards I made sure to run it through the planer again in order to get it completely flat. And then it was time for the cutting. And the cutting I did using my cross-cutting sled. And if you need a video for how to build one, then of course I have one right here for you to check out. Once you have cut the pieces, and again, you can cut them to any size that you like, but for my recommendation would be to cut them to 1.5 inches. Because this is going to be the height. So before we had the board and it looked like this, and now we're turning them around and that's our final height that we are going to be working with. And that is going to be 1.5 inches. It will be slightly below that once we go through flattening it once again afterwards, but it will be pretty close. If you want your cutting board to be even taller, then you would cut these even longer. So you can cut them to 2 inches if you like. However, if you do that, you're gonna end up with a lot less pieces. So just something to keep in mind as well. Right now, I ended up with 15 pieces. That was from my 2-foot initial piece. So I have 15 pieces right now that are all 1.5 inches. And then I also did the same thing with the maple. I also cut those to 1.5 inches, but I only cut let's see, 7 of these, because I'm gonna need 14 strips. And the reason that I cut these to this exact size as well is because now I actually have to go and split these. I'm probably gonna do that over on my bandsaw because I want them to be the exact thickness that I need, which has to be the same that we did this before. And for me, that ended up being 4.5 millimeters. So what I'll probably do is I'll cut them probably around 5 mil, maybe 6, and then I'm gonna use my drum sander to get them to that final exact thickness so that they match these ones. That's kind of the trick here. So that's why I was saying in the beginning of the video, whatever you start with, you have to continue with. So that's why. The reason that we cut these and we flip them, and in order to actually cut these in half now, is because if we cut the stripes from this side, then we would end up with the wrong grain. This would be considered face grain, and we need end grain for these boards. So that's why, something to keep in mind, okay? So I'm gonna go over on the bandsaw now. I'm gonna cut these down so that I have 14 strips. I'm gonna make them the exact thinness that we need, and then we're gonna be ready for another glue up of this one. So we're getting closer in this project. Let's continue on. Once the maple has been sliced into 14 new strips, I get them to the exact final thickness by running them through my drum sander. And once that is done, you can flip every other piece of the walnut strips and alternate it with these newer maple strips. And that is what's going to make up this brick pattern. So we are at the point now in this board where all of our pieces are ready for glue up. But I highly recommend that you do a little bit of a test to make sure that everything's gonna be nice and tight once you actually glue everything up. And as you can see right now, when I squeeze everything together, I feel like I have a couple areas that have a little bit of an issue. They have some pretty big gaps. Sometimes it's just a matter of switching a few pieces around. So as you can see right now, I got a much better fit right here just by squishing it around. But if it's really bad, then chances are it's because this piece right here isn't completely flat. It's okay that it's bended, but it has to be the same thickness here as it is here as it is here. That's the key, because otherwise you're gonna have some issues. So just something to keep in mind, that you might have to take it back over on the drum sander and sand it down just a little bit more to get it nice and flat. Or if these ones are not flat, then you might have to bring them over on the jointer to make sure that they are flat. So again, this is why we spend a lot of time and really taking care that everything was flat throughout the process. A little bit of error is okay, because the glue will also act as a little bit of a spacer between the wood. So very minor gaps can be fixed fix just by gluing it. We can certainly clamp it, but we also just want to make sure that we don't end up with a big curve on both sides of the board once it's done. If that ends up happening, then you just have to cut the board a little bit shorter, but we definitely want to try to maintain as much of possible of all of this lovely wood because we spent all of this hard work doing this. So one thing that I did do is I flipped every other piece here. So as you can see, as the brick gets lined up, it has this opposite pattern. And don't do what I did. When I made my test, I accidentally misglued one of the pieces. I ended up having two that were exactly the same next to each other, which meant I had to go over in the table saw, I had to cut it open again, and I had to re-glue it in. So just double check that you have it all aligned before you get started. Make sure that none of these are incorrect. Just save yourself some time to begin with. But let's start getting these ready for glue up now. And speaking of the glue up, this is where you want to be prepared. Make sure that you have your Titebond 3 and lots of it. And a nice big brush is also going to help you spread the glue quicker. I also like to lay all of my maple strips in front of me and then have the walnut pieces that are already pre-alternated directly on the clamps, so that all I have to do is add in the maple strips in between each walnut piece. It can get a little stressful and it's easy to make mistakes in the pattern, so do your double check now before adding the glue. I want to take a quick minute to say thank you so much for following along this wood story. And if you don't know it already, a couple of months ago, I opened up a patron page. This is a page where you can support me even further. And if you'd like to see some behind the scenes content and kind of see what I do in my daily day when I'm not filming, then go and check out the patron link here. And also I want to give a big thank you to all of the patron members that are already following me. And if you'd like to support me even further, then I've made these really fun t-shirt. This one I call the upside down flip shirt because not only is it functional, it is also extremely practical. For example, you might be wondering why it's upside down, but it's actually so that you can read it and so that you can convert measurements right on the go, knowing that you can take something like a quarter and bring it over to the millimeter section and know that that's 6.35 in no time. So go grab that via my website right here, or even check a look at this QR code right here. All you have to do is take your phone, hold it up to the camera, and it will lead you right to my website. Now let's get back to this wood story. I left this now end grain cutting board for another 24 hours, and then I cut off the excess maple strips as mine were a little longer than the walnut strips. And then it was time for getting this end grain cutting board nice and flat again. Now this can be a challenge, but if you have a CNC like me, I highly recommend using it with a surfacing bit. But if you don't have a CNC, you still have a lot of other alternatives. Now, I'm not going to go over those today, but if you simply type in how to flatten end grain cutting boards right here on YouTube, you will get a bunch of options, and you can even specify it based on the tools available to you. Don't you just love YouTube? Once the board was flat, I also squared it off again using my table saw. I tried to remove as little as possible while I maintained the symmetry of the pattern on all four sides. I also used my router to route the edges just slightly. You could also add a juice groove or even a handle in the middle. There are so many options, and some of these features may allow you to increase the price point, so it's definitely worth considering. Have you found any features on your cutting boards that your clients really like? If you have, please share them below. And then of course came the sanding. Now I won't show you the full process because then we would be here all day, but I start at 60 and work my way all the way up to 220, and I always make sure to water puff the last layer to make it buttery soft. Now, of course, my absolute favorite step is the last step, which is giving the walnut maple combo a nice bath in walrus oil. It is so satisfying to see the richness of the colors in combination with each other. I don't think I'll ever grow tired of that. And just like that, this brick pattern end grain cutting board was done and ready to be used. I managed to make it just in time before my brother came for a visit. And I knew that he was going to be the rightful owner, as it's pretty rare that I have the option to gift him a present, because he still lives in Denmark, which is where I'm originally from. Thank you so much for watching. You can support me further by subscribing to my channel and liking this video, as that will allow you to see even more of these step-by-step videos that you can build yourself. I'll see you soon in the next Wood Story.